Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trading with Ashley show. Well, our Wall Street bull, he's not only out of timeout, but he has a ring of celebration around his neck because he's been very good this week. Now, let's talk about the positive action that we have seen this week. Can it be trusted? We're going to look at that. You know, if you were ever a teenager and you had a wild party when your parents were away on vacation, now I never did this, but if you did this and if they came home unexpectedly and busted you, what happened? Did they actually stop the party? Did everyone scatter? Or did they pick up a glass of champagne and toast with you and keep the fun going? We will find out next week when all these institutions come back to the party if they are going to stop all the retail traders that have been having so much fun this week pushing the market up. I am going to take you into the computer and we are going to look at some very important levels on the NASDAQ. Why the NASDAQ? Well, most of the stocks that we like to trade, they're in the NASDAQ. So you can usually get your cues on how the market may be running if you check the NASDAQ. So we're going to go do that. But before we jump into the computer, I want to share something with you. I am in the holiday spirit and I am offering a Black Friday special, 10% off all of my programs, but it will not last long. This special ends at midnight on Monday, midnight EST. So if you want to take advantage of that, click the link below. You have to use the special links below to be able to get that incredible discount. I would love to be able to welcome you into our amazing community. And it is amazing. I am so thankful for each and every one of my community members. So in addition to all of you in my YouTube family, I just want to say thank you to my wonderful community. You are the most professional, the most kind-hearted, the classiest and smartest individuals that I have ever had the pleasure of working with. And I get to share Wall Street with you every day. That is a gift, and I am very thankful for it. For those of you that want a more conservative style of trading, I want you to consider selling puts. You don't need to be intimidated by it. We will hold your hand through the entire process. In fact, we've had some members this week that they sold their very first covered call, and it was worth celebrating. I like celebrating those moments as much as I like celebrating people becoming millionaires because you'll never forget your very first option that you sell. It's a really big deal once you unlock that power. In fact, today I had to run some errands to grab some things for Thanksgiving, and I was sitting in the parking lot of the grocery store. I saw a great opportunity on a stock. I sold some options. That premium that I created from selling the options, it paid for my entire grocery bill for our Thanksgiving dinner. So I would love for you to be able to have this kind of fun with a community that supports you. Okay, let's jump into the computer and let's look at the important levels on the cues. Because I am always talking about the NASDAQ, I thought it was important to show you what actually is in the NASDAQ. What are you trading when you trade it? Well, you can see right here, technology is 54% of the NASDAQ, and you have a variety of other sectors. Let's actually look at their top 10 holdings. It's no surprise that NVIDIA is in here, Apple, Microsoft, Broadcom, Amazon, Google, both Class A and Class C, Tesla, Meta, and Netflix. These are their largest holdings. These are all great stocks to trade, especially if they're at important levels of support. But if you just want to trade the blended fund instead of risking one CEO saying the wrong thing, one earnings report, or one hit piece, then the NASDAQ cues are for you. Right now, we are looking on Yahoo Finance at the technicals. So today, at the close of day, we were almost at 615 on the NASDAQ. Now let's look at the chart because a lot has changed since we last took a peek at this. One of the first things I want to share with you is the RSI. I'm not sure if you remember, but we were under 50 all last week. So now we are over 50. That's an important telling sign because although the volume isn't there, we did get over the 50 mark. And now if institutions come in and they start joining the fund, then these volume bars will grow higher and we will push even higher. 50 is a great spot to jump in because you have got the tailwinds behind you helping to push it forward. Let's look at some other important levels. Right here, you see the 608? This is right here at the 50-day moving average. Now, we traded underneath that for several days, but now we have pushed above it. And now it's looking like it wants to be support. There's one more level right here. It's real tiny. You see right here at the 20-day moving average, it's right there at 610. So it's really important that if we're going to keep going forward next week, that we use the 20-day moving average as support. And even more importantly, if we pull down to 608, that we use this 50-day moving average as support. If that happens, then you can bet your bottom dollar we are going to have a Christmas rally, and then you can decide if you want to jump in and be a part of that. I am going to review with you all the different ways that you can trade the NASDAQ. Now, the most conservative way is simply to buy the NASDAQ. So if you were going to go buy it, you could actually set this up on a reoccurring order, and you could put the amount of dollars that you want to buy it. If you don't have enough for a full share, then you could say that you're comfortable buying, maybe it's $100 a week. And then it would go ahead and make this purchase for you, and then you would just keep adding to this over time. Now, if the NASDAQ pulls back to any of those important moving averages, well, then you would double up this buy, and that would ensure that you are starting to lower your cost average along the way. Now, if you want to sell options, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can consider selling options on the NASDAQ itself. Depending on your account size and depending on the amount of time you have, you could do this daily, weekly, or monthly. But for now, let's look at 12/5, which is about a week from now, depending on when you're watching this. So if you're going to do this and you're not afraid of assignment and you have the cash to accept assignment, you might want to look for a delta around 0.3. Here we go right here at 607. If you had the cash to accept 100 shares of the NASDAQ at $607, that would be $60,700. Now, if you were trading on margin or a combination of cash and margin, it will not require quite as much. But if you wanted to sell this put, then you would receive $345 for putting up this cash. Now, at the end of next week, either you'll get the shares at 607, regardless of if it's trading lower, or we won't reach 607 and you'll get to keep 100% of this $345. Now, the best part about selling options on the NASDAQ is that if you're assigned the shares, you can wait for recovery and then start selling covered calls on it for the call away. And like I said, they do trade daily, so you could do the wheel strategy on the NASDAQ daily if you wish. Now, if that's a little bit too much money for you to trade and you're more interested in credit spreads, you can do it, but you are taking on more risk. Here's a way to make your risk a little bit smaller. You want to consider going out at least 45 days if you're going to do a put credit spread. Let's go ahead and go to January for one that I'm going to look at with you. This is on January the 16th, 2026. If you're working with about $1,000 and you want to take this trade, then that would be a $10 wide spread. Now, to do this trade, you would want to go down from 530 down to 520, and you would want to buy this option. Let me explain what you're doing when you do this. If you're selling the 530, well, that requires a lot of money to take ownership of the shares. But when you buy this other put option, you are buying the right to sell those shares if you get them at the price that you chose, 520 in this example. That's why your broker allows you to do it on a smaller amount of cash, because you simply need the difference between your two strikes. Let's look at what your risk is and what you can make if you were to do this trade. If you were to take on this trade, it looks like the credit would be around 45 cents. So you'd get $45 off of working with 1,000. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but keep in mind that if you look at an annualized return and you were to do this every 50 days or so, this would end up being about a 31% annualized return. So you can make really good money conservatively if you end up putting on a trade like this. Now, you do want to be safe. If the NASDAQ pulls back more dramatically and you see this 45 cents double in price, that's when you may want to consider an exit and just call it a loss and then open up a new trade 45 days later. Now, if you want to be conservative on the winning side, if you were to receive 45 cents, then when this is cut in half, maybe you end up at around the 22-cent mark, that's when I would look at taking an exit, then redeploying that cash on a new trade. So there's several ways to do it, but you can keep yourself safe. You can exit early if we have a surge, or if we pull back, you can exit at a loss and redeploy for another 45 days. And finally, one more way to trade the NASDAQ is if you want to go with the leveraged counterpart, the TQQQ. Right now, it's trading for about $53. This is something that you can do. It's best done on a red day. And if you were to make this purchase, maybe you buy a couple of shares, then as it rises, go ahead and sell. Consider at about the 5% mark. And then if you're going to trade this way and you're trading with a larger amount of money, you absolutely would want to use a trailing stop loss to ensure that you don't take a big hit if the market has a dramatic shock to it. I hope this has inspired you and you are excited about trading. If I could be a part of that journey, it would be an honor. Remember, if you're with me, Trading with Ashley, there is no trader left behind. Now, if you are excited about option selling and you want to try it on your own, I am going to leave a video for you. It takes you through how to sell your very first put option. I'm going to leave that for you right here.